had a bit of a hard day today, and so I thought, because it's related to this healing journey thing, that I would get on here and open up about it a little bit. And it's basically about emotional capacity. I think if you would have asked me what my goals were when I was restarting therapy like 3.5 years ago, one of the things I would have listed was that I wanted to increase my emotional capacity. I've always kind of felt like I can't keep up with kind of normal life the way that a lot of other people seem to do. And by that, I kind of mean a whole wide range of things. One thing that I've always struggled with is too many social events. So if there's like a weekend where there's a Saturday and I'm invited to like my niece's birthday party, and then that Sunday is my cousin's baby shower, that makes for a really hard weekend for me. And I've always disliked that because that feels like something most people can do without that like impacting their upcoming work week. Like they can recover from that quicker than I can. But also things that aren't social really at all. Things like keeping up with the dishes, or trying to like be more mindful about what I'm eating. Things like that. I've always, even like my job, I'm self-employed, so I'm able to manage my own schedule. But with all of those kinds of things, it's like I've always had these periods in life where I really, really push myself to stay on top of things for a while. And it kind of works for some period of time. But then I pay for that in like totally crashing out and getting way behind, and then, kind of getting this like, oh my gosh, I have to get back on top of everything, and kind of restarting that cycle. And so when I was first restarting therapy 3.5 years ago, I wanted to increase my capacity so that I could be more consistent with kind of just staying on top of life. But also, I remembered being worried about starting therapy because I thought, this is really vulnerable stuff and it's going to be emotionally draining. So I was worried that if I would even be able to manage weekly therapy. So I was pleasantly surprised that pretty rapidly, I think within the first couple of months, I felt like it did increase my capacity enough to where I was able to stick with doing weekly therapy, and I wasn't at more, like, I didn't have a net loss in my energy levels. I also didn't have a net gain, but I think it just increased my emotional capacity enough pretty rapidly to be able to do therapy and kind of keep the same energy levels that I had had without doing therapy. And then I think that's just kind of how it was for a while. It just had kind of plateaued. But then maybe a year or so worth of therapy, year and a half of therapy, I got to a place of starting to be able to pay more attention to my own needs and setting boundaries, like internal boundaries with myself, and just like say no to more things. So like if a Saturday I went to a baby shower, and then Sunday my sister calls and wants me to go somewhere with her, I would be way more likely to decline that offer, because I started to realize that I needed to like take care of myself, and that part of that meant not overextending myself. And so not overextending myself so much increased my capacity some. And also feeling more of my feelings, like more and more. Like I started doing some of that very early in therapy, but I got better and better at that. And my husband has been doing his own healing journey since a few months before I was, actually. So my whole healing journey, he's been healing as well, and has been largely in approximately the same spot as me. Like sometimes one of us kind of comes ahead of the other for a brief period of time, but for the most part, we've stayed on about the same track of healing. And so he's also like set more limits in his life and felt more of his feelings, and so his capacity has increased as well, but also has then been taken up by therapy itself. But we've also been able to use some of our increased capacity to do things like manage our triggers in real time, and to discuss conflict with each other in real time. Like we used to often, like, we knew both of us had gotten triggered, and we felt like we had to like wait a day to be able to deal with it in a like emotionally safe feeling way. And we don't have to do that anymore. Like we have the skills and the capacity to deal with things as they come up now, which is great. But with us both having CPTSD, it's common for us both to get triggered. And so when we are opting into feeling our stuff when it comes up and dealing with our triggers when they come up rather than, I don't know, avoiding it or turning it into anxiety or whatever other coping methods we had before. That takes a lot of energy. So again, I feel like we've unquestionably significantly increased our capacity, and yet we don't, it's not like, oh, I can like join some new program or do some new thing, because it goes right back into healing and therapy. And of course, some of that is a choice. Like, I could like stop doing therapy or try to stop feeling my feelings in real time so that I maybe could use that energy somewhere else, but I don't want to do that. I want to prioritize healing as much as I am. But today, what I was struggling with was just like kind of grieving that capacity, like that I have done 3 years, over 3 years now, of pretty intense therapy. And I unquestionably have gained so much from it. And still, kind of the things that I was hoping early on in therapy to like have more energy to do, like keep on top of the dishes better, I still can't do that consistently. Like, I have phases where I can without white knuckling it now, which was never the case before. But I still can't be consistent with it. And I also was kind of hoping to get to a place where I could do more social things, like attend more of my nieces and nephews' sports games and things like that. And I don't have that capacity. And sometimes it's like, it feels a little crazy to me how low my capacity is, because I never fully realized how bad it was before therapy. Like, I knew it wasn't great and I knew I wanted to improve it, but I think I was numbing and just kind of white knuckling my way through trying to get through life all of the time, that I had deluded myself into thinking I had a pretty okay-ish capacity. And I think the reality is that my capacity has always been really poor, and that I was using shame and anxiety and other not good things to motivate myself into trying to make it look like my capacity was quote unquote normal. And part of me knows that I'm unquestionably doing the right thing by looking at what my capacity really is, seeing what I can really manage, and trying to take care of myself. And also, there is still a part of me that just really wishes I had a good capacity or a normal capacity. I would love to be able to work 40 hours a week and do my half of the household stuff and attend different events for the people that I love, and engage in hobbies and all these things. And I do still think that my capacity is growing because of this healing work that I'm doing. I think it will get better. And at the same time, I think to a degree, part of this process is having to accept that between trauma and neurodivergence and just not having been taught certain skills, that I'm not at, that my capacity isn't where I wish it were for a woman in my 30s. And that seeing improvement on that takes a ton of really hard work, and that sucks. Like, part of me feels like, isn't 3 years of therapy enough to just be like cured? But it's not how it works.